and you'll watch the YouTube chat. It's just like it's
Yeah,
so inconsistent.
yeah, no, it's
We get like a chat and
especially
then we never know.
yeah. I mean,
Oh,
if
that's
you,
a cool the tracking lock thing there. That's
it's
pretty
really
cool.
cool, right?
I was looking at your image there. Yeah.
Especially
It
since
feels like
you're
Top Gun.
yeah, especially when you always told me like you feel like it's a dolly cam, so I was like, okay, let's do something like that.
Uh oh, okay. I guess we're live. I accidentally checked the box to say hey, we're live. All right, hey everybody. Welcome to Stump the Vibe Coder episode 21. My name is Dr. Voss. I'm a professor of biology at Roosevelt University. I've been programming for 30 years, C++, Perl, and then most recently mostly Python. But as of November, when Claude Code kind of came out with their Opus agent, I've done less coding, and I feel more like a coding manager. Um, and I'm kind of here to kind of refine my vibe coding skills. And with me is my student Pierre, who is going to give me challenge, and I literally have no idea what he's going to be asking me to do today. So what am I doing today, Pierre? So did I catch you off guard too quick? It's my job to kind of fill in the white space. So an Akinator, a mind reading genie that asks you 20 yes or no questions and then it guesses what you're thinking of. Hmm. Yeah, I don't. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I don't really have a strong capability of generating AI images on the fly because that requires an API account, and I mostly just have subscription accounts. And the subscription accounts don't let you script AI image generation. Now, I could look into installing one of the local image generators, but I haven't done that in like probably a year or so. And I'm trying to think like how would this be um different than just like a regular LLM chat. I'm just trying I'm having trouble kind of visualizing I'm sorry to be pushed back so much. Um Having trouble kind of visualizing how it like what kind of custom interface it would have, I guess. Yeah, we had a sorry, I'm trying to do a deeper process here. So it's like a 20 questions game. Well, I guess I'm just trying to, what my default go-to for this game would be just to tell, basically a prompt, right? I'm just trying to think of what I would code other than making a web interface for an LLM, I guess. So I'm trying to think of what aspect would make it special, right? If that makes sense. So yeah, I guess, um, while I get a chance to think, maybe I can talk about what I've been working on. This is an important aspect of vibe coding, and we probably don't cover it enough on the show. Is I spend a ton of time curating what goes into my default repository template for when I start coding. This is what I would consider an empty repository, and it's far from empty, right? And then here is my skills collection, which I've also been spending a lot of time refining this week. Whenever I make a plan, I use my skill blueprint plan drafter. Whenever I'm done coding, I do an audit code reviewer. Whenever I start implementing a plan, I have a delegate manager to sub agents. And the reasons these things have unique names is because I want them to all start with at least a unique first three characters. I have some specialized ones for working with PySide, like a Python GUI. The repo rules is what I tell it to do whenever I start up a new agent. Whenever I go to bed, I wrote a new skill called Stay Busy, so it will actually do stuff while I'm sleeping. If it's working with TypeScript, I have TypeScript. If it's doing a UI stuff, I have a UI engineer. Um, and I don't some of these I don't use as often anymore, but getting your curated skills, and these are, you can import skills from other people, and you can, I mean, my Voss Lab skill here is it's actually set up to be a plugin, so you can literally just add it to your Claude and use my skills. But I think most people that are really good at vibe coding create their own skills. Um, for example, we'll start off kind of in the order in which I do these. So the first thing I do is I have my repo rules reader. I tell it to read these particular files that kind of set up the way I like to code. So, most people probably know of agents, but I also have a repo style where I tell it how I like to organize my files, Python style where I tell it how I like to organize my Python scripts, import rules and that kind of thing. My agents are writing way too many tests, so now have a dedicated document to PyTest styles where it stops making stupid tests. Uh, this is an important one that probably nobody uses. I think most people who use Claude just kind of give it free reign of their hard drive, but I actually have mine really tightly controlled with a Claude hook. And so it's like, for example, my agents are not allowed to commit. And that is done with this hook, which is basically something that looks at the commands and decides whether or not it's okay. And if it's not okay, it tells the agent what it should do instead, which just saves me a ton of time, and also protects my hard drive. How to write the change log, so basically, it just kind of gets the agent up and running, and I tell it to answer some questions to mean that it actually read things. So I launch read repo rules whenever I create a new agent. Um, I think it's pretty good to go over this stuff, Pierre. So if you have follow up questions, do let me know. Um, so you let me know if I should go into the hook more. I was going to kind of drift into what my documents tell us now. All those documents here are in my starter repo template. So whenever on the show I create a new project, I open up this repo template. And in here I have, these are kind of my key things, repo style. Um, this is my core philosophies for an agent. Uh, Look at the long term over the short term. Um, accept a small cost now to avoid larger costs later. Like stop patching the problem, fix the design, not the symptom, right? Um, Use a fresh subagent per task. So like sometimes the managers will try and reuse subagents that are kind of stale. Break things up into smaller things that makes things go faster because things can be more parallel. And a big one for me is the agent will go, "Hey, are you ready to start step two?" I'm like, what do you think? So I have like a finish the obvious criteria. Like, if you know what the next step is, please just do it. Don't ask me. Um, and then, I talk about the structure, project types, agent file, um, README, naming formats, who's allowed to git commit, um, other documents in there. I have all these rules on the change log and what acting. I just added this yesterday because I have one manager just to create all these plans. Like I have like literally 160 plan files, and I'm like, I have no idea what these are. You create all these plans. I'm like, well, so let's sort them into folders or something. So so all of these kind of come up. How do I keep track of the version? How do I execute scripts? Where do we store dependencies that people need to install? Where do we put data? how do we document things? What documents I like to have, you know. So a lot of projects will have things like contributing, code of conduct, community, and I decide I don't like those. I don't No one really helps contribute to my code, sadly. But I like to have a code architecture that covers this, a file structure that covers that, a news, related projects, release history. Um, so I just kind of have here are the common docs. If you think they'd be good for the project, the agent can write one. Um, my favorite licenses, you know. So that's what I cover in repo style. Um, Python style gets really into the my Python nuances, and because I've been coding for Python, I've been writing Python for over 15 years. No, yeah, I started in 2006, so I have 20 years now of Python. I'm very set in my old ways. I came from the Python 2 era, and so I like, in order to make the code readable, I have very stringent requirements. PyTest style is the test structure. One of the things is like it kept creating all these bad tests, and I'm like, stop doing that. So I'm like, I basically have a rule of what tests to get rid of, not what tests to create. Markdown style, how to format markdown files, how to set up tables. I haven't edited that in months. A new one I created is end-to-end tests, for, you know, how to like make sure things are working from end to end, which is good for some of the browser websites I've been working on. And then let's just cover the Claude hook usage here. And I actually spent a lot of time with my Claude Code permissions hook. So this is it's a written in Rust. I actually forked it off another person, but I'm 62 commits ahead of them now. Um, but basically, all the commands that Claude runs goes through this program here, and it actually logs it to a file in my temp folder, and so I can actually go through and look at all the commands that Claude has run and say, okay, do I need to change my rules or something like that? Which I have to do like once a week. I'm not gonna lie. And the official rules folder here is example, and it gets pretty involved. Like here are commands it's allowed to do. Like I have text commands, search commands, format commands, inspect commands, checksum commands, file system commands, proc commands, system commands, dev commands, save commands, things. So these are all the commands it's allowed to run. And again, agents get really creative with their commands. Like sometimes they just do stuff that why would okay, sure. Um, some guy they found some guy on the internet that grepped a file this way, and so now they want to do it on my system. So, and I want to make sure they're only, you know, looking at files in certain directories, um, and they're not allowed to remove things outside of certain directories, and they're not allowed to look at my password, you know, so they're not allowed to run git commits. And you know, and a lot of times I have to do a git invocation variable because a lot of times the thing will just make up their own git command. They'll do user bin git, or they'll be git. You know, they'll just use git by itself, or they'll have like some sort of weird way of running git to try and get around my hook. So it's it's kind of I've locked in a lot of stuff, and it's probably a little overwhelming to read, but fortunately there's documentation there. And it was drifting a bit, and so now I have a list of yeah. So Pierre is asking, there are a list of loud commands, and there are also a list of not allowed commands, and there's a list of, and there are types of commands where it has to ask the user. And my goal is to make it so it asks me less, right? So things are more predetermined. Where's my list of so when I do this, it runs on the tools command decision.py, which loads a file. So I actually have a tool here that will take and run 1,000 commands against the hook just to kind of test, and it's in a TSV file, which I am going to be. It's probably not docs. Doesn't make sense. It should be under tests, I guess. Do you see? Oh yeah, command decisions TSV. So this is just an insanely long file of commands it's testing against the hook. So I guess I have 1400 now. You probably heard of comma separated value. This is just tab separated values. Um, but it looks like text really. It's not. I don't even think it needs to be a T. It probably could just be TXT. To tell you the truth, I think it's actually deny tab find. Right. So these are commands that are not allowed. It's not allowed to look in my downloads folder, or my desktop or my library, um, or my config folder. But it is allowed to look in the Claude projects folder for whatever reason. I don't really look at this myself. I just kind of let the agents decide. But anyway, I have all these commands here just to make sure my that long list of rules doesn't drift. I want to keep everything in check. So, is this way overkill for most people? Yes, it's definitely overkill. But it works great for me, and I think from what I've heard, other people who vibe code, they just say, whatever, um, they just kind of let it loose. Like they just give Claude complete access to their entire hard drive. So, because we've heard of stories where Claude just like deleted the entire documents folder. Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. What I'm finding is the agents will sometimes they'll make a mistake, and then for whatever reason they'll freak out, and then they'll just delete everything, to cover up to kind of reset. And I'm like, oh no, that's happened to me way too many times. Yeah, so one of the things I need to lock down is git reset. I'm literally it happened to me twice this week where I think I loosened the rules around git reset, which that kind of returns everything in the repository kind of back to where it was. Where agents they messed something up and they decided to delete everybody and all the other agents' works that were simultaneously working on the same project, and it's like, oh my gosh, why are we doing this? And then so one of the things is that hook only controls the main manager. If the manager launches a sub agent, those sub agents are not controlled at all, as far as I know. They can do whatever they want, unfortunately. So I guess me fixing the hook has nothing to do with that. So, but anyway, so that is just kind of one way I do to one of the things I have to save myself from having to approve commands all the time because nothing's more annoying when vibe coding is coding for a long time and then you come back and it says, "Oh, can I have permission to ls on this folder?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You haven't done anything. I've been gone for 2 hours." Um, so this is just kind of like a way to kind of give them approvals, and so I try and do allow and deny as much as I can. Pass through is where it's going to stop and ask me and wait until I respond before it can do anything else. So minimizing the number of pass throughs is kind of the goal of this hook. Um, where other people will just allow everything. I do have built-in kind of deny rules, which is help. And then anytime it gets a deny, it tells them, "I see you tried to do this instead." Um, and I created this file here, which is it's a little long. I tried to shorten it a little bit, but it's still too long. Of acceptable behavior for agents. Commands like if you want to do this, like probe a video. Here's how I say, don't use FF probe, use media info because it's a better program. So yeah, this kind of stuff that comes up occasionally that I try and steer. So, yeah, so this is kind of my default doc set, for my starter repo template. One of the things I expanded is controlling of change logs. I now have a rotate change log, query the change log, commit the change log, distribution clean, which kind of deletes all the temporary folders, adjust the version of the program. If you have a PyPy package, I have a submit to PyPy because I never remember all the commands. So that's my development folder. I have a list of all the licenses I can possibly use. Um, in the meta folder, these are just kind of things that test the local repo before I ship it out. Propagate is for keeping existing repos up to date. Templates is based on, so if like for Python, I have a specific git ignore. For Rust, I have a different git ignore. For TypeScript, I have a different git ignore, and I have some specific packages for TypeScript type repos. So when I create a new repo, I actually have this. I created this function here, reset repo, which kind of interviews me as to what type of repo, and it deletes all the files it doesn't need. So, which is kind of cool. README. Also, tools. I don't think I have much in there. Detect repo type. So, what would someone do if they wanted to do something more simple? I mean, I guess my recommendation, and this is how I started, is I just took like I said, I forked off this Claude hook system from another user who hasn't committed anything in 5 months. But I thought it was a really cool idea. Theirs is significantly more simple, but you could. This is pretty easy to set up. It's not too bad. I mean, it's just a few lines of code in your Claude Code settings, and away you go. And then I just kind of made it incredibly more complicated. So I would recommend, I mean, you can use. I think mine's fine. I mean, just the install process is more difficult than the other guys. It's just the amount of stuff going on behind the scenes is incredibly more complicated. I don't. I guess I don't have a decent install guide for mine. Huh. This one's mine here, right? So I guess I need to write a better install guide. So I'll put that on my to-do list. Actually, let's just do it right now. So I keep my Claude hook here. And like I say, whenever I start a thing, I tell it to read the rules. And then I actually have a skill called install usage docs. And so we're going to launch that skill after it reads it. So I was looking here. I was going to pull up my install usage docs skill. Wouldn't my version use more tokens? I don't think so. Yeah, I guess it would use a little bit more tokens by rejecting the command and then having to launch another command. But the commands themselves are probably small in tokens. It's reading all the files, right? Telling it to read the change log and the Python style. Those are all tokens I got to send up to the server. So does it every now and then it'll tell you tokens, but not always. I have it on extra high effort, but whatever. It's because another project is really going off the rails of mine. Um, I'm hoping to have that ready for my virtual lab simulation code. I'm hoping to have that ready for Monday, but it's in rough shape. Anyway, so it's looking to create a fresh docs install and docs usage guide, which is part of the push for the install usage docs. Let's see what I have here. I haven't even looked at this skill forever. I still use it though. Create a fresh or minimal install docs and install usage. Goal, setup steps, dependency, how do you run the tool, CLI flags, practical examples. You know, a lot of times I'll just pull content from other, like if there's lots of documentation online about how to write a good install markdown file for GitHub. So I'll pull that content in, put it into um the skill. So it looks like I'm it looks like it's downloaded 8,000 tokens, but it's not telling us how many tokens it uploaded. So Pierre, you feel like you're learning anything today? Sorry, I wasn't able to implement your plan. I just don't know. Oh, here we go. Find entry point in CLI shapes. I used 46,000 tokens. This one took 24,000 tokens. So, but I'm sure this read repo skill, sucks up a bunch of tokens. But I'd rather have an agent like that knows what's going on than not. It's a nice quick way. So let's take a look at its plan here. Wow. I guess I should have just told it to do it. We don't need to make a plan. So anyway, I'm just gonna say implement plan. Sometimes it just stops and waits after I just say do the plan. So yeah, so hitting those tokens. So anyway, so let's write an install guide, and that'll be done shortly, following the guide here. So, yeah, so the repo, I covered the repo rules. Now, what I could have done here is I could have used my blueprint plan drafter. This is a really developed skill. When I have Claude make a plan, I'm very keen that I want to do it specific ways. I want parallel first design. I want to reduce the wall time it takes. I have very strict definitions. I'm sick of every single plan calling things differently. So I decided milestones, work streams, work packages, patches, component modules. And I have naming guardrails. I recently added a whole bunch of headings you're supposed to have in your plan, objectives, scope, non goals, design philosophy. I have a template here. So the agents will just download this template and start making the plan from it. So that way, when I look at a plan, they're all kind of really well scoped out. And I know exactly where to look at things. So, you know, it's good to have. I mean, you're anybody's welcome to copy these plans, to copy these skills and make them their own. But because I do a ton of vibe coding, I like to keep my ducks in a row. So, all right. So it says it's done with the plan here, and we can take a look. I guess it did this scan thing, which we can delete. Um, but it updated the install usage. And one of the things I like to do is it's like, hey, double check your work. Oops, sorry, wrong window. So that's what I have, the audit code reviewer skill. I can say use skill. So let's stop. And the audit code reviewer skill um, here is very specific. It says, I want you to launch five or six agents. I want a plan auditor. I have a person that goes in and looks at the plan, looks at the code that was changed, and makes sure they match to make sure everything was finished. And there's no skipped work, right? Because I don't know, agents, they're designed to please. They will actually skip over things and not do them. And then another one is like, did we create stupid tests? So the job is for them to remove any fragile tests. Like, number of lines in this program is 12, and then you add a line and now the test is broken. I'm like, why do we have a test that does that? But they love adding, the agents love adding tests. Style auditor, make sure they're following my Python style, repo style. Docs auditor, sometimes when we update the code, it breaks a link in one of the documents. So I actually have a dedicated agent. Man, the amount of dead code in my vibe coding is too much. I want to, yeah, this is a good side tangent. Gastown. Steve Yegi got some great ideas, but as someone pointed out, like for his gas tone code, it's like almost 10 million lines of code now. I think it's because he keeps adding things and not removing things. And I can't. It's like, I mean, he's working hard. But he's not like, I don't feel like he's like trimming the fat at all. Um, yeah, it's like if we check this out, we could just count the number. I mean, that'd be kind of a cool plot, lines of code over time. I like a lot of people at the bottom will have the number of stars over time for their project, but this is one of those that's like boom. Um, but anyway, so I like to have a legacy dead code auditor that's going to kind of go through and look for dead code. And then a comment auditor that I added that just looks to make sure that the code is well commented, what it's doing, and kind of stuff like that. And if I came up with a seventh one, I could do that too. But those are the six ones I came up with. And so what it does is it tells the manager to launch six independent agents, in which you can see here it has done. Each one's using 50K tokens, so um, be aware that it does suck up process. I am on the $200 a month plan, which I do occasionally use up, and looks like all the reviewers are finished. And then my guidance for the manager, once it gets all the information back, is it needs to make a report. Um, so so it generates a final review, and then I have the code. This is the command that I tell it to do the fixes that make sense. So, I don't know. It seems to work fine for me because sometimes it's so. So here are the merge findings. Reading is missing links to install and usage. Well, that should have happened. Why? It's decided it was out of scope. Um, yes. I guess it's still not even sure if it still need to fix it. Yes, readme should link. Um, it's kind of worthless not having a link to readme. Um, so I guess it's not happy with one of the formatting on the install, some sort of gaps that here, some change log formatting it didn't like, test layout it didn't like. So it's just gonna go, so the manager gets that report and it's gonna go through and edit things. And now see you can see here we've updated the README code. Yeah, that seemed like a big gap. Like all the files need to be updated from the README. So what we should do is probably um, tell the manager to update the README. I think I have a skill called README docs. Yeah, use README docs. Cool. So, and now it's just going to go through and update the README. And then when that's done, I will submit the commit. But anyway, so that's just, the way you control your code using skills, right? So things that you do more than once, you want to put into a skill. So again, my blueprint drafter is a skill that tells the agent, the manager in this case here, how to design a plan. And then I like to have my main, the chat bot that I'm talking to, be a manager. And I like that I do manager driven execution. And that's what this skill does is like you are a manager. You do not do any code editing. You create sub agents to do the code editing. And then the manager, the agent, the main agent, you're in charge of checking to make sure that they're doing the job that you assigned them. So, and there's like a handoff, brief, core workflow. So it just kind of outlines what the manager does. I'm giving the manager rules that they have to follow. Read the plan, read only, dispatch agents. They may not edit code, test templates, or doc directly. They're not supposed to edit the change log. They're not supposed to rewrite plan tax tests, um, or commit, right? So I guess I actually have a full manager contract here, because it's good to have um, examples for them to pull on, right? So it's whenever you have a skill, the more you can flesh out these references, the better. So yeah, so let's start a repo, collection of skills. Whenever we're doing a web based project, I like to use this HTML parallel game builder. It's specifically designed for the tasks we do on the podcast quite often. And so it has like pre-assigned work streams. So because again, you don't some vibe coders will use work trees and then you're spending all your time kind of merging things back. And you can get stuck. So what I try and do is I try and set it up so the agents can work on at the same time. So it looks like my README has been fixed. Cool. So we can go to the other terminal and we can look at the status. So we have all these changes here. I can look at the what's changed in the change log, right? So it made all these change log entries. Now, I don't like to think about my commit messages, so I actually have the script I showed earlier, commit change log, and I recently updated this. And it hasn't been updated for this repository, so that's why I have my starter repo. So I go there and I use my propagate script, and I tell it the repo. What's the name of the repo? Claude Code permissions hook, and it's going to it updated the repo style. It replaced the README, which is not what I wanted, but fair enough. Um, I'm gonna tell README. So that's a bug. Was overwritten. Can you restore? Um, so I'll fix that. Actually, I could probably fix it right now. So let's see under templates. So the way I structured this, Russ, we should have a no exists folder. And then I can move the readme to the no exists. And then, oops, I did forget the word move. Okay. Um, cool. So now when I run it, it should not overwrite. You know what? Should I save it? Eh, live dangerously, right? Um, okay. I must have named the thing wrong. No exist. Okay. Sorry. There's specific names you get one's got to use. So so it looks like it updated git ignore, which may or may not be good. Probably not, but at least it didn't overwrite the readme file. So uh the nice read okay, sorry, the other room. I told it to fix the readme. The nice readme that you wrote was not committed. So I can just kind of copy what was here. Anyway, so I'm going to git commit fix over write readme, and then we'll go back to my Claude code permissions hooks. All right, and I can get rid of the no exists folder. That was an error, and then I added some stuff from another, and then we can look at see the readme changes are applied. Looks decent enough. And then now I can use my script commit change log, which is the updated version. And you can see it takes all that all that stuff from the change log and kind of truncates it out so it's a little bit more readable. It'd be nice if I wrapped this around an agent. But then I just type commit and push, and now I've updated it. So I go back to the website. We were talking about our hook. So now I should have an updated, yeah, here's my updated README, which includes an install guide. Um, yeah, which is not too bad. You know, maybe it's a little too confusing for the novice user, but, um, so, if you try, if you want to give it a try to run the hook and, see if it works for you, feel free to do that. So that's my Claude Cook hook there. HTML game builder is a good way to kind of divide up the tasks to try and get things in line. We talked about read repo rules, and then my newest skill is the one again that bothers me is like I will go to bed and the manager will come and it will have not done much. Um, so this the user invokes this when they complain an agent is waiting too much or an active delegate manager is about to idle despite safe evidence producing follow-on work. So basically, I just say, hey, if you're not doing anything, do more, right? That way, when I come back in the morning, it has completed stuff. So, um, so anyway, good way to what am I trying to say? Finish the obvious type of stuff, right? So, stay busy. Don't stop and wait for me. Which is a common frustration of mine. So anyway, I think that's kind of like my core. So I got the starter repo template. I got my Claude Code permissions hook. I have my collection of skills. And I use those three kind of repos to kind of build other things, you know. One of the things I'm working on actively is my lab protocol simulation, which I want to say has kind of been a nightmare. It's definitely got me in the circles. I have one that controls the battery in my house. Um, so and junk drawer is kind of where I throw all my skips. Here's the Voss Lab skills. If you watched the last podcast, we covered the hantavirus outbreak game. Um, I do some program writing. Text to SVG is the one that Pierre and I worked on a few weeks ago. I think I had to make some just updates to it. Cause just kind of across the board. I have a sports life game that we covered on the podcast. A brick inventory label maker. I have lots of Lego IDs, Lego collections. So I use these two repos to kind of keep those in track. Oh yeah, my daughter had a STEMs quiz this week. You know, like parts of words, and so I wrote a really fun game. I should show that one off. This is a fun game. I don't always make games for 12-year-olds, but in this case here I did. Um, I was trying to get her to share it with her friends because we actually have GitHub repo that you can actually play anytime. So if we want to do a stems quiz, we can select all the units. You can select the number of choices you want. So we're gonna do a quick run with 4 choices here. Which stem means this? Hand. So like manual using your hand. And then I have a little blob. I like the little blob guy in the bottom that tells you cacao is bad. Man, I'm not great with these stems. Lent. That was full of. So I got a nice streak and I'm collecting coins. Oh, the coins thing seems to be broken. Cut. Size, like you cut something out, right? Ish, like, right? We're on fire. Hetero means different. Which stem means life? Vive. Idio. Peculiar. Or, oh man, I don't know. Okay, good. Phew. Photo. That was easy. Small is micro. We're unstoppable, Pierre. So I got 745 coins somehow. And then you collect these coins, and then you can go to the shop and you can buy new themes. I guess we have 870 coins. So I can buy the Candy Kingdom theme, and now I'm in Candy Kingdom. Um, isn't that cool, right? Now we can do eight. You can do 8 choices, which now exoskeleton. I'm gonna say outside, out. Yeah, apt. Bit. Fall. Uh, ooh. So it's like blood, and lungs, eyes, muscle, CAD. Oof. And this is yeah, this is live. This is a live game right now. Head, cranium, not carn, ab, ace, cephalo. I want to say yes. Flat, plat, plateau. Yeah. Okay. Air, like pressure, air. I'm gonna go with air. Nailed it. So if anybody wants to learn their steps, but this is such a cool project that just came together really fast. Scope is to look, right? Yeah. So plural. Uh, E is it? Okay, yeah. Bone is osteoporosis. So Viv is life. So oh, wow, I did it again. Let's go to the shop. So I mean, it's only 625 coins right now. But the goal is, my kids, they could go to like one of the local high schools. So I try to have themes of the high school colors that are nearby that you can save up to get. Um, so yeah, normally I don't do so well, but yeah, if you have a good streak, you get bonus coins and stuff. So, and then there's daily goals. So finish a quick run, finish a challenge run. Get 5 in a row, 10 today. So that maybe that's how I got the fives, I guess. Or you can play the endless, and then it has a mastery thing, which I told it to kind of look like, you can share. You're supposed to be able to share this um to your social media. I'm kind of curious what this looks like. Oh yeah, here. So I did the share thing, and then this is the result. Boom. That's pretty cool. So I don't know. Sometimes projects work out, and then sometimes you bang your head against that wall for hours on end. But this one was a lot of fun that came together fairly quickly. So I have no idea if anybody used it. It only stores information on your GitHub pages have to be flat, so it only stores information on your local computer. So it does no tracking or anything. I mean, I probably could build that in. So protein image grader is something I use for grading homework assignments. Um, I mean, when I used to teach biochemistry, I'd have like 50 students in the class. Um, and now I have, this semester I had 11, so it wasn't as big of a deal, um, it kind of downloads all the images, kind of does a pre-assessment, organizes them so I can spend less time grading, things. I was trying to implement the populous game. This came in handy for writing my final exams. I was able to kind of input all the final exam questions into YAML, and then it was able to process the YAML and then generate the final exam, which is pretty cool. I don't know if I have big classes again, I might use it to generate A/B exams. Then this is part of the grant we've been working on. Automated radio disc jockeys, the side project, crazy problem extractor, making M4Bs for audiobooks for my phone, keeping track of my movies. Here's the track runner dolly cam. Yeah. Started writing a program to clean up my PowerPoint slides. I'm sick of like images being not the correct aspect and stuff. So I'm just kind of running away, working with a lot of different tools. So yeah, sorry to take to today's Stump the Vibe Coder on a little bit of a tangent, Pierre, but I just really wasn't sure how to implement your idea. Maybe we can develop it a little bit better um in the future. So but hey, if you got any ideas, is something you want to cover, my approach to vibe coding, you're trying to implement some of the content and you're having a little trouble getting it to work. Uh, you know, if anybody's watches this, I definitely take the Claude Code permissions hook here, and I'm giving you an assignment to see if you can get it working on your system. So, um, tell me if my install guide's any good. Not that I read it. Um, but you clone the repo, You log in there, you build it. Uh, on Mac OS, they just changed how the install pathway for car Rust yesterday. It was like broke all my paths, but if you have Rust installed, I think you just install via Rust. I think there's a brew file for the no, there is not. Okay, so maybe I'll add it. I'll work on that file to make it a little bit easier to work with. All right, let's just do it now, I guess. All right. Do, do, do. Okay. Claude repo again. I just built it. I probably could set it up to just auto do it, but anyway. Oh, and the remote controls active. Really cool if you haven't tried out this feature here. I'm gonna change the effort to low for this. Um, is that I can start this session on my computer here, and then add a brew file for to make easier install on Mac OS and update install.md. Um, so we have this thing here running like this, and then I can go to Claude Code on the web. For some reason, it's hiding things, and I can see this is my webpage. I can see the exact um, same thing as my terminal on the web, and I can say change the mode here. I can change the effort level, which should have been, which I don't think it reports correctly to tell you the truth. So yeah, so you can see here it's done, added brew file. So what I can do, I think you can run skills, but the interface in the web is definitely different. They're working on making it better parity, but it's definitely different than here. So, but it does somewhat mirror what you're seeing in the terminal, which is great. Um, so I guess sorry, I need a free terminal here. Um, so we can see if it did a good job. It updated the changelog. I need to add the brew file. So if you're not familiar with the brew file, it's just a list of packages you need to install. In this case here, it's brew and Python. Um, and you just type brew bundle and it goes, okay, I will install those, whatever's in that brew file. And that gets you up and running. And then for mine, you just need to do, I have an update Rust thing to make sure everything's installed. And then from here, you can do the config test, which will build. Man, that always work. I'm still kind of new to Rust, but is it really downloading all of these little side packages? I guess it is. And it's like 100 plus side packages, each with their own version. It makes me worried. Like one of these is probably has some sort of like Chinese hack, and then what it's going to do is all those 1,400 commands. It's going through and testing them all to make sure that your TOMFL file is working as expected. So, and that's just the config. I should tell it to add up. Um, yeah, I don't really care to finish. But I'm going to tell it to add update Rust and config test to install usage as well. So I guess I could have put that in the web page here. Yeah. Make sure the install to get up and running process is easy for novice terminal users, right? And so I put that here and then I go back to the terminal and you can see it literally just put that there, right? So it's kind of a cool thing. And then, this, my computer here is behind a firewall. the web page I can access forever. There's also the Claude app that you can put on iOS or Mac. I find that the app is not as good as the web page. I actually have to open the web page on my phone to get some of the features, like changing the edit mode and stuff. But the app is, a little bit more designed for app usage, and unfortunately, it just kind of has less stuff. So yeah, so hopefully it made it a little bit easier to use. Um, all right, it's finished with the change log, so now I can go to my general terminal here. And you can, if I look again, if I look at the raw change log, it's got it's probably got too much detail for a commit file, but then my nice devel commit file, which I really like, just kind of cleans it up a little bit. Um, and then I don't even need to think. I just push it up, and then we can go to the web page, and maybe the install guide's a little bit easier. So clone the repository, install Rust, um, confirm Rust is ready, build the binaries, create a config file, set up the Claude Code register, and then verify it's working, and then troubleshooting and stuff like that. So hopefully, um, it might be easier for you to use. So anyway, any bigger thoughts, Pierre, on my crazy vibe coding setup, which works for me and probably not many others, but I'm pretty happy with it. I think it keeps the guardrails up, so the agents don't go too wild. Maybe I'm being a little bit too strict. I know Steve Yegi of Gastown would probably, you know, not have nearly as many back things. And that's why a lot of people work on computers that don't have access to all their data. But this is my primary workstation here. Now, yes, should I have a Mac Mini that I SSH into and run all this stuff on? Yeah, would that slow things down? Probably not. But I'm just doing it on my local machines for whatever reason. And yeah. So anyway, that's it for today's podcast. If anybody like catches this video later, want to ask some questions, feel free to do so in the chat. We're not getting a ton of engagement, so I would love to hear from anybody if anybody's actually watching these videos or whatever. So thanks again. All right. I think the plan is for us to be back with Owais and Jaron on Monday and night at 8:30. If not, I'll let you know. So where's the? Oh, I gotta stop share to stop.